Parshas Chayei, Chamishi. Rivka and her family are now celebrating the newly agreed upon shidduch with this Yitzchak, with the son of Avram, who we're yet to meet. Remember that Yitzchak is living in Canaan. He's not allowed to leave Eretz Canaan or Eretz Yisrael. He's labeled the Ola Tamima, the perfect, wholesome Karban, and because of that, he's never permitted to step foot out of Eretz Canaan. So as they prepare beforehand, more gifts are bestowed from Eliezer onto the family, and then Rivka formally agrees to the shidduch. Before leaving, Rivka is given a maid servant. Her name is Devorah. Devorah, we're introduced to her later on. We're not given her name at this point. Devorah becomes a prominent figure, at least in Chazal's lore. Also, when she dies, the Torah takes note of the death of Devorah because she was someone who was loyally by her side the whole time. We also find a blessing that is given to Rivka at this moment from her family. At Chayei la'alfei revava. Interestingly enough, that is the bracha that is bestowed upon all kalas at the wedding. The father of the kala, or sometimes the father-in-law of the kala, gives that bracha to the kala. And they head out to Canaan to greet Yitzchak. Yitzchak is in the desert. He's waiting. He's davening lasuach basadeh. Chazal derive that this was perhaps the source of tfilas mincha. He was davening in the afternoon, before the evening. That means he was davening tfilas mincha. And there is a statement in the Chazal that the Gemara tells us that each of the three main tefillas each day were established parallel to the avot. Shachris for Avram, mincha for Yitzchak, and Marev or Arvit for Yaakov. The other version, which the Rambam talks about in Laws of Tefillah, is that the three tefillos, the three main prayers, were established parallel to the karbanot in the Beis HaMikdash. We have the karban tamid shel shachar, we have the tamid shel ben arbayim, the two tamids that are in the morning and the afternoon, right before the evening, and then we have Marav that was instituted as well as as the karban that is offered as the waiting during the time in which the limbs of the karban are burning on the mizbeach, and we daven during that time as well. Chazal also instituted additional tefillos for Musaf for holidays and Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos, as well as a Ne'ilah for fast days. Nowadays, we only do that on Yom Kippur. But anyway, one of the versions is that Tfilas Mincha is established by Yitzchak. As Rivka and Eliezer's caravan arrives, he's davening, but she notices him from a distance, and she either jumps off the camel, or falls off, and then she covers her face with a veil when she recognizes, and after he's identified as the husband-to-be. Eliezer tells Yitzchak what has occurred. Yitzchak takes Rivka into his tent as a wife and then loves her. Specifically, we point out that first he takes her into the tent and then he loves her. Many people think they're going to find romantic marriage before a wedding. Ultimately, you invest time and sacrifice, and then love is the consequence of time that's put in. We learned that from Yitzchak and Rivka. Chazal note that three miracles that existed in the tent of Sarah, because this wasn't his tent, it was actually the tent of his mother, which is, interestingly enough, that's not a very romantic gesture. Welcome to my mother's tent. Takes her into his mother's tent. The mother's tent had three miracles all along. Candles were always lit from week to week. The bread was always warm. And the Shekhinah, divine presence, was always hovering above the tent. Parallel to the three miracles in the Mishkan was the Eish that was always lit, the fire that was always lit on the Mizbeach, the Lechem HaPanim, the showbread that was always fresh, and the Shekhinah, the divine presence, always hovering above the Mishkan. These three miracles disappeared after the death of Sarah and now reappeared when Yitzchak brought Rivka into his mother's tent, and Yitzchak was now comforted for the loss of his mother.